You won't believe what happened to the biker who threatened the royal guardsman. In the small town of Riverside, surrounded by green hills and winding rivers, life flowed smoothly. In the morning, the sun rose above the horizon, flooding the streets with golden light, and the evening brought coolness and freshness. For Jack Thunder Harris, every morning began with the roaring engine of his motorcycle. He was part of the Blackhawks Club, which met at the local bar on the edge of the road. Here, bikers shared stories about their adventures, competed in races, and discussed upcoming trips. Jack has always longed for freedom. His motorcycle wasn't just a means of transportation, it was his life. He loved the feeling of the wind in his hair as he raced along the open roads, and he knew no boundaries. Every turn, every new track was like new pages in a book for him. He felt like a real king of the road in his black Harley. One day, when he was driving past the park, he noticed that there was an exhibition dedicated to the royal family from a distant country. This event attracted a lot of people, including locals and tourists. Jack, curious by nature, decided to stop and see what was going on. Chapter 2. The Royal Exhibition. The exhibition was bright and colorful. There were tents with exhibits on the central square of the park, antique royal armor, paintings by famous artists, and even jewelry. People looked at the exhibits with interest, and the musicians played live music, creating a festive atmosphere. Jack noticed that Sir Edward was standing in the middle of the crowd, a stern-faced royal guard with a shiny uniform. He stood guard over the order, carefully making sure that no one violated the rules. At that moment, Jack felt the urge to have some fun. "What a bore," muttered Jack, looking at the guard. He decided to have some fun and bring some adrenaline to the event. Getting on his motorcycle, Jack started the engine and drove loudly past the entrance to the park. The crowd turned around and some started laughing and applauding. He stopped right in front of Sir Edward and said with a grin, "Hey, law enforcement officer, do you want to ride my bike? I'm sure you have nothing more exciting in your boring life." Chapter 3. Conflict. Sir Edward did not appreciate the joke. His face became even more stern as he replied, "Get out of here, biker. You're disturbing the order." But Jack just grinned and continued to provoke the guard, telling stories about his adventures on the road. The crowd continued to laugh and cheer Jack on. At that moment, he felt like a real hero. But soon other guards came up to them. The situation has escalated. Sir Edward pointed at Jack and ordered, "You will be arrested for disorderly conduct." Jack was in shock. He never thought that his joke would lead to such a turn of events. He tried to escape on his motorcycle, but the guards were faster. They intercepted him and detained him. Chapter 4. A night at the police station. Jack was summoned to court the next morning. He was sitting in a police station cell and thinking about how things could have gone wrong. He was disappointed with himself and realized that his behavior was inappropriate. When he was brought into the courtroom, he saw Sir Edward looking at him with satisfaction. The judge, considering all the circumstances, ordered Jack to do community service for several weeks. "This will be your punishment for disrespecting the laws," the judge said with a serious face. Jack lowered his head. He understood that his actions had consequences. Chapter 5. Community Service. Jack began doing his community service at a local park. Every Saturday, he went there with other lawbreakers. Instead of spending time on the road with friends, he cleaned up the trash and helped to improve the territory. At first, it seemed like a punishment to him, but over time, he began to notice changes around him. The park became more beautiful, and people came there with joy. Jack began to communicate with other participants in the work and learn their stories. He realized that many of them had also made mistakes, but now they were trying to fix them. One day, while working, he met a young woman named Laura. She was an energetic and kind soul, always smiling and trying to support other participants in the work. Laura told Jack about how she got here for a minor offense, accidentally damaging someone else's property during a party. "I thought it was just a joke," she said with sadness in her voice. "But now I understand how important it is to respect other people's things and feelings." Jack nodded. "Yes, I also realized my mistakes." They began to be friends and support each other during their work. Over time, Jack became more respectful of people in uniform. He saw how hard it is for security guards and police officers who face difficulties and risks every day. One day, during one of his jobs, he met Sir Edward again. The guard came up to him and said, "I see that you've changed. I hope you've learned your lesson." Jack nodded. "Yes, I really realized my mistakes. I didn't mean to offend anyone." Sir Edward smiled and added, "We all make mistakes. The main thing is to learn from them." These words sunk into Jack's soul. He began to think more about his actions and how they affect others. Chapter 7. A New Life. After completing his community service, Jack returned to his old life, but now with a new perspective on things. He became actively involved in charity events along with the local police and security guards. One day, he organized a ride for underprivileged children on the motorcycles of the Blackhawks Club. It was an unforgettable event for all the participants. The children laughed and rejoiced, and Jack was overwhelmed with happiness that he could do something good. Laura also took part in organizing events and helped Jack in his new endeavors. Their friendship grew stronger every day. Chapter 8. Recognition. With each new event, Jack became more aware of the importance of community and support for each other. He became a leader among bikers and inspired others to follow his example. One day, during one of the charity races, Sir Edward came up to him and said, "I am proud that you have become such a person. You've changed a lot of people's minds about bikers." Jack smiled. "Thank you. I'm just trying to do what's right." Sir Edward continued, "You've shown all of us that even after mistakes, you can get better." These words inspired Jack to continue his work and help other people. Chapter 9. The Wind of Change. Over time, Jack continued to develop his ideas about helping people in his city. He organized an interest club for young people, where they could play sports and learn something new. The club quickly gained popularity among Riverside teenagers. Jack taught classes on safe motorcycle driving and organized sports competitions. He also invited local police officers to talk about their work and how important it is to comply with the laws. One day, during one of these classes, Jack noticed a group of teenagers who came just for fun. They giggled and laughed at the safety rules. "Hey, what's going on here?" he asked with a smile. "Do you think this is a joke? Security is serious." The teenagers looked at him in disbelief. One of them replied, "We're just bored." Jack thought for a moment and suggested, "And let's make it fun. We can have a competition. Whoever performs the security tasks better will receive a prize." Everyone present liked the idea. The competition was fun and exciting. The teenagers learned important skills through the game. Chapter 10. The Way Forward. Eventually, Jack became famous not only in Riverside, but also beyond its borders. His story has inspired many to change their lives for the better. He understood that freedom is not only the right to do anything, but also responsibility for his actions. Now he knew how important it was to respect others and be a role model. One day, during one of his trips around the city, Jack stopped at the top of a hill and looked at the sunset. The wind blew his hair and his heart was filled with pride that he was able to change his life. "I'm going to keep moving forward," he whispered to himself as he prepared for new adventures on his motorcycle. And although the path was full of obstacles, Jack knew one thing. He would always strive for freedom, the freedom to be himself and help others find their way in life. Chapter 11. Problems on the Horizon. However, not everything went smoothly in Jack's life. Rumors began to appear in Riverside about a new biker gang, the Red Dragons, who were known for their aggressive behavior and disregard for the rules. They began to organize races through the streets of the city and provoke conflicts with local residents. Jack heard about it from his friends from the Blackhawks Club. They discussed possible precautions at club meetings. "We have to show them that we won't let them destroy our community," said one club member named Matt. Jack agreed. "We need to act peacefully and set an example for other bikers." But there was a growing worry inside him about how to deal with this situation. One evening, Jack found out about the planned race of the Red Dragons through the city center. He decided to step in and try to stop this madness before it becomes dangerous for the residents of Riverside. When he arrived at the race venue, the atmosphere was tense. A crowd gathered around the starting line. Bikers shouted words of support to each other. Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. He knew he had to act fast. Steeling himself, he rode his motorcycle to the starting line and shouted loudly, "Hey, stop! You can't just drive around the streets. It's not safe for you and for people." The crowd froze. Some started laughing at him. One of the bikers from the Red Dragons, a big man named Ricardo with tattoos all over his body, came forward. "And who are you? Are you in charge here?" Jack felt a surge of courage. "I'm here to protect our city from your madness. You can't just break the law." Ricardo chuckled. "Do you think you can stop us?" Chapter 13. The Battle for Honor. The situation has escalated to the limit. The crowd began chanting the names of both sides. The tension was palpable in the air. Jack knew that if they didn't stop now, the situation could spiral out of control. "If you want to race, let's do it right," he shouted. "We will organize the race legally. Let the police keep order." Some of the bikers began to agree with him. They also did not want conflicts with the police or the locals. But Ricardo was against this proposal. Do you want to race legally? This is not for us, he shouted back. Jack knew he had to act decisively. Then I'll call the police. You're forcing me to do this. At this moment, the crowd froze. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation. Ricardo looked around and saw the hesitation among his men. He had to make a decision. Chapter 14. The New Order. In the end, Ricardo agreed to conduct the race in compliance with safety regulations under the supervision of the police. This was an unexpected turn of events for everyone present. The police agreed to attend, provided that safety regulations were followed during the race, no alcohol or aggressive behavior. When the race started, Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. He was determined to set an example for everyone of how to enjoy freedom without breaking the laws. Despite the fears of Ricardo and his gang's new rival, the race was a success. All participants followed the safety rules and tried to enjoy the process. After the end of the race, Jack approached Ricardo. I was glad to see you at this race without conflicts. Ricardo nodded. Maybe you're right, there's a way to enjoy riding without too many problems. Chapter 15. Unity. After this race, a new unity emerged between the clubs. Even despite the differences between them, they realized the importance of following the rules for the safety of all participants. Jack continued to work to strengthen the relationship between Riverside bikers. He organized joint events for clubs, from sports competitions to charity events. People began to notice changes in the atmosphere of the city. Now bikers were perceived not as troublemakers, but as active members of the community. Chapter 16. Recognition from the society. Shortly after these changes, the local administration decided to reward Jack for his contribution to improving the image of bikers in the city. At a special ceremony, the mayor of Riverside thanked him for his efforts to bring the community together. Jack Harris is an example for all of us. His desire for freedom combines responsibility to society. Jack felt proud of what he and his friends at the club had achieved. They had become a symbol of unity and understanding among different groups of the population. Chapter 17. A New Challenge. However, shortly after this event, problems began in Riverside. Rumors surfaced about a new biker gang from a neighboring city, the Blue Wolves, who wanted to take over Riverside territory. Jack knew that if they didn't take action now, it could lead to conflicts between the clubs again. He gathered the members of his club to discuss a plan of action. We have to defend our city from these bandits, he declared decisively. The club members agreed to help him in this endeavor. They knew the importance of protecting their community from outside threats. Chapter 18. Preparing for conflict. Jack began to prepare for a possible conflict. He organized meetings with other clubs to discuss strategies to protect the city from new threats. Representatives of the Red Dragons Club attended one of these meetings. They decided to unite to fight against a new threat. We have to show these bandits that Riverside is our home, said Ricardo. The unity between the clubs has become stronger. They have started joint safety training and preparations for possible clashes with a new biker gang. The situation was escalating. Rumors about the plans of the Blue Wolves were becoming more and more threatening. They began to stage provocations against local residents and bikers, destroying property and intimidating people. One evening, Jack found out about a planned meeting of the Blue Wolves at a local bar. He understood that this was their chance to stop them once and for all. Gathering his team from the Blackhawks Club and allies from other biker clubs, Jack went to the bar. Chapter 20. The Last Battle. When they arrived at the bar, the atmosphere was tense. A group of Blue Wolves were already waiting for them there. The bikers started shouting threats at each other. The tension reached its limit. Hey, we've come to talk! Jack shouted through the crowd, his voice confident despite the fear inside him. The leader of the Blue Wolves group came forward. His face was covered with tattoos. What do you need? Do you think you can just come here and threaten us? Jack stepped forward. We're here to protect our city. We will not allow you to bully us or destroy our community. A fight broke out. Both sides began to exchange blows. However, thanks to Jack's preparation, many bikers were able to maintain control of the situation. Chapter 21. Victory of the Spirit. Despite the fierce fighting on both sides, Jack managed to keep calm among his men. They acted as one unit against a common enemy. After a few minutes of fighting, both sides got tired. Many began to realize the futility of the conflict. We all love riding motorcycles, one of Jack's club members shouted. His words made many people wonder why they were here at all. Soon, both clubs began to realize the need to unite for the common good. They decided to stop fighting and start a dialogue instead of violence. Chapter 22. A New Path. After this incident, both clubs decided to unite under the same flag. They realized the importance of unity in the face of external threats. Jack became one of the leaders of the new United Riverside Biker Club. Their goal was not only to protect their city from external threats, but also to help local residents through charity events and road safety activities. It was a new beginning for all the participants in the biker movement. They realized that they could achieve more together than individually. Chapter 23. Legacy of Freedom. Over time, Riverside became known as a city of unity between bikers and locals. They held road safety events together, as well as charity events to help families in need. Jack continued his work as the leader of the new club. His efforts inspired many young people to follow him on the path of freedom and responsibility towards society. He often recalled the moment when it all started with a simple joke at the Royal Exhibition. Now he understood how important it was to respect other people, regardless of their lifestyle choices or hobbies. Chapter 24. The Way Forward. In the end, Jack became a symbol of change for Riverside. His story inspired many to change their lives for the better, and also helped restore trust between different groups of the city's population. He knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but now he had a team of like-minded people ready to support each other in any difficulties. At sunset one beautiful day, Jack climbed the hill again to look at the city that had become his home. "I'm going to keep moving forward," he whispered to himself as he prepared for new adventures on his motorcycle. And although the path was full of obstacles, Jack knew one thing: freedom is not just the right to do anything, but also responsibility for your actions before the society you love.